So this is a method called the quadripod that this dear friend taught me when I lived in Spain. And basically you use some sort of cane or bamboo and you put it in just to the outside. So I had my roots, the roots of my plant were going towards the center. And so when I put this bamboo in, I always put it on the outside of the tomato, because that way I know I'm not just like going right through the whole root ball, because that would be not nice to your tomato. And so I go to the outside, and we're going to do the same thing with all 4 of these. And this is, this is one method for trellising tomatoes, but there are a lot of methods of trellising tomatoes. Chloe is more excited about the Florida weave, which the key with this is you really want to get the bamboo deep in there, because if it's not, then if there's a big windstorm, it'll take it down. Hit a rock or something. Ideally, this bamboo is actually not super big in diameter, because then you can get it better into the soil. And something I've actually done before, which I'm not going to do right now because I would have to run and get tools, is I'll make myself a like a wooden, a pointy wooden thing. It's about 1 foot long, and I will use a wooden mallet to drive it into the ground, and then remove it, and then stick the bamboo where the hole was made, which can be really helpful, especially if you're dealing with wider bamboo like this. Oh, there we go. Cool. That's nice and deep. And then I'm going to bring all of these together. Sometimes it's nice to have an extra person. And then I will bind those together with string up there. You don't really need to worry about this step yet, not until the tomato plants are a little bit taller to where you can actually tie them to this to keep them off the ground. But I just wanted you to see the method by which we are doing this so that the quadripod will work. And so basically I'm planting these tomatoes so that they're in sets of 4. So we have this set of 4 makes a square, and then our next set of 4 is actually going to start right here. So we'll have 1 tomato here, 1 tomato here, and 1 tomato there, and then 1 tomato here, so it'll make like a diamond shape. And so the next step after pruning is tying. So this tie is actually in a fine place, but for the benefit of you at home, I'm going to retie it, and I'll tie it a little bit higher just because that's what you should always do when you tie. So what I do when I tie up a tomato is I take my string, which is typically some sort of biodegradable string, because that way I can just like let it stay in the field or in my garden if I need to. And I'm going to go around my bamboo pole. So see that I didn't just like go around like this, I went around the whole thing. And what that does is it keeps this from shifting and like falling down. Because if it's just going around like this, it can easily go up and down the pole. But if I go around like that, then it won't go up and down the pole. And then I bring my tomato to the outside of my quadripod. So rather than having it like it's actually planted so that it's in like this, but I want it to be on the outside of the quadripod. And then pull that tight, and then I'm going to tie my tomato on. Now I don't want to tie this tomato onto the pole tightly, because this tomato trunk is going to grow a bunch. Like that's going to become like a nice fatty tomato trunk, and so I want to leave room for it to grow. So a good rule is like 2 or 3 fingers in there of space that you want to leave, and then you can tie a bow or a square knot depending on how much space you have. A bow is nice because then you can reuse these ties and just move them up the plant as you go. but sometimes you have cut your pieces short and then you do a square knot. But yeah, so that's how you tie on the tomato. And I tend to do it every 6 inches. Sometimes I'll do it every 12 inches. I generally do it under a leaf because that gives, you know, if this tomato was to get heavy and start falling down, which it will when it has lots of fruit, then that's a stop, which is really great. And then, yeah, so that's just a really great way to tie them on. When I'm cutting these pieces, I tend to cut them, they're like probably 1.5 feet long. And what I'll do is I'll take the twine and I'll just wrap it around my arm, like from here to here, and I'll just wrap and wrap and wrap and wrap and wrap. And then I'll take this big hunk of those loops and I'll just cut it. And then I'll have several pieces, which is really nice.